Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, and we are in Module 3, and we just finished creating a low poly model of the sci-fi weapon. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to start extracting and setting this up for high poly, and then we'll use the high poly to bake the maps, all the maps we need in Substance Painter, and texture it, just like we did with the crate. Alright, this is all old news for you. You guys know how to do the baking, and if you're unsure again, you can follow the lessons. Just kind of rewatch the lessons for the crate and go for it. It's the same process. You bring the model in and you bake the maps, and then you apply the materials. So we'll get to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on these parts separately. I'm going to break this in half. I've got it all set up to where it'll break in half and not have any issues with that. And any additional things we want to do to the model, we can bring the model into Mudbox and add those stencils to them with alpha maps, and we can add more detail that way if we'd like. Again, all this modeling is open to us, so I'm going to show you how to do hard surface modeling and create the high poly right out of Maya. So let's go ahead and just do one part at a time. But I'm going to go ahead and I really need to save this a couple times, so I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to poly modeling. I'm going to delete by type history and freeze transformations, and I'm going to place that in a layer. Alright, so once that's in a layer, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it, Control D, and click on another layer. Okay, and we're going to call this low poly, and we're going to call that 01. And then I'm going to select it again and Control D and click on this button again to create another layer and add the object to the layer, and we're going to call this low poly 02. Okay, so we're going to have several different. I'm going to turn that off too as well. And this one here, yeah, we got that in that layer, so I'm going to call this, this one's going to be called high poly. There we go. And there's a reason why we've got so many of these, is because we're going to do each section, each time I model this, I'm going to destroy one of the pieces, okay, that we're modeling. So I want to make sure I have enough of these. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Click on one of these low polys again, and I'm going to basically duplicate this a couple times. Control D, and make a new layer, and just let's do a couple of these. There we go. This one will be called 03. Alright, and let's do one more. Control D, and create a new layer. So we got 4 of these done. There we go. So that should do it for now. Alright, so 4 of them. We got the high poly or low poly here. And okay, so let's go ahead and just focus on this piece right here. And we need to focus on this guy. So the background I'm going to turn back on. So I'm going to select the background and just select that. So you can see that the background, I've turned that reference off so I can select it. So make sure you turn the R off. So just turn it off, and that way you can select it. Okay. I'm going to shift select that. I'm going to do Control 1. Now if I don't do that and it's referenced, let me Control 1 again, and I go Control 1, the background goes away, and that doesn't really help us, does it? So we gotta make sure that's selected and the piece that we're going to work on is selected, and do Control 1. So okay, we need to go ahead and do that to the rest of the viewports. So let's go ahead and go into the viewport and make sure we have that selected, both of these. There we go. And we're going to do Control 1. We're going to go over to this viewport and Control 1 on this viewport. Okay, and Control 1 on this viewport. There we go. So now we got all three viewports. Now they're all selected. I'm going to go ahead and just turn that reference back on. And so now we can just work on this without having any issues. So I'm going to plow through this pretty quickly. Even though this is the first time I've ever modeled this particular gun, I've been modeling for a long time, so if hopefully I don't go too fast, and you can always pause the video. I'll try to keep it as slow as I can. Otherwise I start making mistakes if I go too slow. So I'm going to go in here and just get rid of these faces here. Don't need these. I'm going to right click over here and go to vertex and just kind of move this where I need this to be. Now I don't want to mess around too much with the rest of these. Now I could probably just leave that like that, okay, and then cut that piece here if I want to. Let me do that. Let me see if I can get that done. Let's go ahead and what's some other things? I do notice that we have a back. Yeah, we still have a back on there, so go ahead and take that off too. We only need to work on one side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And we can go to top view and just kind of get rid of the rest of that side. Okay, just marquee select that, delete that. Now if I'm looking down, if I look at my axes, when I move the camera down like that, you can see that I'm in the Z axis. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to basically do this like I model car panels. Is I go ahead and start breaking this up. Alright, selection mode, hold down the shift key, go into multi-cut. Okay, now we know that multi-cut will cut whenever you click on an edge, but what happens when you don't click on an edge? Let's say I click outside of the edge. Okay, so I'm going to not click on the edge, but I'm going to click outside of the edge and click on this edge right here. You can see where that edge goes all the way across, so I'm going to click on that imaginary edge here, right there, and go all the way across like this, and boom, there it goes. Now the problem, let's go ahead and hit the Q key to get out of that tool. What happens if I do an insert edge loop, that causes other kind of issues. So if I go back into selection mode, let me show you that. So I hold down the shift key, my right mouse button, go into insert edge loop. Let's say I click on my edge loop and it follows that line. So I don't want it to do that. I don't want it to go down. See, it makes that little curve right there. I don't want that to happen. So I don't use that tool for that. So I'm gonna hit the Q key. Inserting and doing multi-cut, if you don't hit the Q key, you can get into some serious trouble by accidentally adding vertices. And if you don't see those vertices, now let's talk about this really quick. Now some of you, because you're new at modeling, we get a little careless. We rush things, and what happens is that when we right click over and you select vertices and you see these what I call rogue vertices, where edges aren't shared between the vertices, those are really bad, because Maya sees that as an n-gon, and n-gons won't work for texturing. Well, I mean, your model's pretty much dead with n-gons or with dead vertices all over the place. So if you do see a vertice that isn't connected by anything, an edge, okay, doesn't go across, then select it and delete it. You have to get rid of those wild rogue vertices that really don't have any reason to be there. So that part's done. So do the same exact thing for the rest of the gun. So I'm going to go and go to selection mode. And since I know what I'm going to be doing, then I'm going to go ahead and just keep working. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and multi-cut tool. So I know where I start. Okay, start across, and I get the same gap here. That's really important. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this right here. So I'm going to kind of go out and click on it and go in like that. You can see how I've got to angle that just right to get that angle in there. There we go. So that cuts in there. And then I'm going to cut through here all the way through to this end like that. And then I'm going to continue cutting right here, just kind of following all these edges. Okay, there we go. And then we've got another piece over here, so I'm going to follow this. I'm going to cut over here. Cut that one, just make sure I get it straight across. That one's already lined up, so that's good. And then we've got this piece right here that looks like it's trying to line up, so let's go ahead and do that part up here too as well. Okay, so we're just getting these lines cut. If you make a mistake, just hit the backspace key, or you can do Control Z. Okay, I think I got it out. There we go, yeah. I did, so I'm going to cut another one. That's too close. There we go. That looks good. Great. That one. And then this one is kind of a problem with this piece right here. So we'll have to get rid of this face. That's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this face here. Don't really need these. I can keep those separate. So that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and cut across here. Go into object mode and go to multi-cut. And we're going to cut across this one right here. I suppose I could move that down and then cut across there. Cut this across. So, right, so we've got some pieces we're going to extract. Okay? So now's the time to extract stuff. So what parts do we want to extract? Okay. So we don't need this face here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that face, and go all the way across. So you can see that we're already starting to cut these pieces up, and we need to do some work on here, obviously, but that'll come later. And then we've got this piece. And this piece all the way across. Now we got to be careful here because we're going to cut through here. I guess I can cut that piece off. That's okay. And so then we have this piece right here that needs to be cut. There we go. Right, that's good. And then I think we're okay. Let's go ahead and cut that. There we go. Alright, so now we've got our pieces cut. And let's see how they look. Alright, that looks pretty good. We're going to actually move this guy up, I think, because I want that square with that. So you get that square right there, and it looks like it's got the same. We got the same kind of thing right there. That's going to look cool. So we got that piece. All right, so that looks good. Let's move this up. Let's see if that's angled or anything. Maybe just minutely angled. So I'm going to go ahead into the edge. I'm going to go to slide edge. Let's see if I can get that slide edge. Where are you, slide edge? There it is, slide edge tool. So what I did was I'm in component mode, and I love the slide edge. I'm going to hold down the shift key and right click over it and go to slide edge tool. And I can, with the middle mouse button, it's telling me right there, middle mouse button, hold it down and just drag it up or down. And let's do that with that on. Okay, Let's drag that up and down, see where we need to have it. So I'm going to put it right here, right there. Okay. So I probably should have. Did a really crazy thing of. I really should have left that polygon there. So I am messed up. So that's easy to fix. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to click on this edge and get to learn a little bit more on modeling. I'm going to do Control E, okay, which is extrude, right? I'm going to hit the W key this time, okay, and move that straight down like that. There we go. And so, and then I'm going to move it in a little bit like that. I'm going to click on these vertices that you see, just marquee select them, and use one of these tools, Edit Mesh, to merge the center. So that's all completely done. So I just merged the center, just marquee selected it, and those two vertices are now one. That's cool. And so now, made a mistake, but I rectified it. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here and select all these guys and move it over so we get that nice, and I'm going to move that over too, like that. Now there's going to be a point where we can't get it exactly, but we can get it as close as we can. Let's go ahead and move this one over. I don't think that's going to matter. And then we want to get that little cool little detail we have here. That little chunk that looks like it's notched out of there. So that's pretty easy to get. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's go into, hold the shift key and go into multi-cut, and let's go ahead and cut those pieces real quick. Just kind of follow that at really close there. There we go, like that, and go straight across. And if you hold the shift key down, and you hold the shift key down while you're going across, it'll make it perfectly straight, which is kind of a cool little tool in itself. Holding the shift key down while I'm, like, even after I started it. Okay, let's go ahead and do that right here. I'm going to click on it, and I go across, and I get to the other end. I hold down the shift key, and it makes it straight, just like that. That's very cool. So I got that, and so now I got those two edges that follow that line perfectly. And then now all we have to do is cut down this part right here, which is cool. And I might be able to do, let's go ahead and do the same thing. I like that tool. Multi-cut, and just cut straight down here like that. Since the angle is going to be a little different. Let go. There we go. And so now, and you can make cuts anywhere. That's kind of a cool tool to have. So now I'm going to go in here to face, select the face, and delete it. There we go. Very cool. Just like car panels. Alright, so now we're going to focus on getting these pieces, kind of get those looking like the drawing. There we go. And let's go ahead and move this piece out. There we go. We got some cool looking, interesting things happening here, which is very cool. Let's go ahead and move that over like that. So you can see I'm just kind of moving things around here. There we go. So we've got some really cool, interesting things we got going on here. So I'm going to probably move these guys over a little bit, like that. Now I have to be careful. I just cut through there. So this is where it can be a problem. Now these pieces really should be separated. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. To do that, you're going to want to select all the faces of the object. Okay, I'm going to hit the Q key and shift select everything and select all the little pieces too. Like that. That way we can work on these separately. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Mesh, and where are you? Extract. Down to Extract. So Edit Mesh, Extract, right? So there's that one piece. Select it. There we go. Now these two pieces are still selected. So I've got to go in there and do the same thing. With this one, it's going to be a little easier, so I can just marquee select it like that. There we go. And go to Edit Mesh and extract at the bottom here. There we go. And then now this piece is by itself at the very bottom. There we go. So that piece is all by itself. Alright, cool. So now you're just working on one of these pieces at once, and if you do cut all the way through, let's go ahead and click on object mode. So now all of these are separate pieces. Very cool. Alright, so now let's go ahead and just focus on this one piece in the middle. It's got some really cool intricate pieces now. Now that we got them separated out, we can do some really cool things, but I'm going to go ahead and to keep the same topology, I'm just going to cut through at angles, okay, and get rid of the ones that I don't need to have. So a lot of times you can, I'm going to go to multi-cut tool, and that just seems to do a good job. Multi-cut from here, and I probably should slice through there. Let's go ahead and let's go back with that one. And so I'm going to slice through one more time here. Notice that even if I go through the other one, it won't actually go through this other piece because it's not one piece anymore. So I'm going to go Control Z back and try that again. And that's closer. That's better. Okay, so I'll just go with that. And so now let's go into the multi-cut tool. Click on that one. Click on that. Hit Enter. Click on this one. Click on this one. And hit Enter. There you go. So that looks good. I'm going to hit the Q key. I think the problem with this is that we have created a piece that needs to go all the way across here, unfortunately, but that's easy to fix. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and go all the way to the end. Okay. I'm going to hit the Shift key, kind of snap it, holding on the Shift key. There we go. And hit Enter. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to basically click outside of this area here and then go all the way to the end. And I can hold the Shift key and get it straight. There we go. Nice angle. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, it looks like this one's pretty close, right? This one's not. So I need to cut all the way through here on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way through on this, like that. Okay, I'm going to try to do more of a better a straight line. Okay. There we go. And so keep that nice and straight if I can. Hold the Shift key down. There we go. So we got a nice piece right here. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Click on that, and click on this, and hit Enter. And I think we're okay here. So I'm going to select that, and click on that, and hit Enter. There we go. So I got that piece right there. And the only problem is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's, yeah, that'll work. That works just fine. Yeah, perfect. We have a triangle here, but we're gonna delete it. Come on. Nah. No. Q key and then face mode. There we go. Delete. There we go. Perfect. And we're gonna delete this face right here. Boom. Okay, so now we're getting that. We're adding those really cool details. And the piece right here that we need is an edge. So we're going to go to this piece right here, and we're going to extrude. Control E, and we're just going to, if I follow that edge, it will kind of follow how the edge is flowing, and that's kind of what we're looking for. We want that flow to go at that angle. If I hit the W key, it gives me a straight up and down angle. That's not what I want. So I'm going to Control Z back again. Okay, and there we go. And let's go ahead and select that edge, and Control E, and let's go into these. It looks like the side view. Yeah, side view. And it's telling me we're still in isolate, so that's fine. Go go ahead and click on that and move that up and then this way like that, so we get that nice. And then of course I need to go into vertex mode and go into object mode and select it and move it over like that. There we go. So now we're just kind of moving these vertices over, and that's looking really good. Very happy with that so far. Okay, cool. So we're creating panels that we didn't have before, following the exact same piece that I had as modeled, so it'll shape around the low poly. There's a reason for my madness right now, but everything's looking pretty good. I'm really liking what I've seen, what I've got going on here. This piece is a strange piece. Let's go into object mode again and select that object here. Hit the Q key. So this one's pretty much ready to go. I don't have any other pieces I need to create out of this. I do need to move this one up, or change this one a little bit. Click on this one and find out what we need to do here. Don't know if I need this piece, but I guess we'll keep it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and right click over and go to edge mode and click on this these edges here and go to Control E, and we are going to want to move that up, and that's not really moving to the same angle. Maybe it is. I just can't tell. Looks like it is okay. And move that up and move it over. Here we go. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. Actually, that looks good. Right, so that's that piece there. That looks really good. I don't know if I like this piece. Let's go ahead and move that over. That needs to kind of flow with that. There we go, like that. Looks good. Alright, so with any piece, whenever you do edge loops, remember the crate, you guys hated that. The more you do edge loops, the better you're going to get at them. So what you have to do is, if you hit the 3 key, this one doesn't do too bad when I hit the 3 key, but those edges don't stay solid, right? They just kind of just get real soft, okay? Doesn't really look like what we want. It's not a hard surface model, and that's where the hard surface comes from, is that if you hit the 3 key, it should stay nice and tight around those edges. So let's go ahead and add those edge loops. Okay, so these edge loops are fairly soft, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the edge loop tool, and kind of we're going to bring that around something like that. That should work pretty good for that. We're going to do the same thing for the bottom again. We're getting those edge loops. Be consistent now, as consistent as you can be. And we'll continue to create edge loops. This should be easy to do and fairly painless. So we're just adding edge loops where we can to these edges, inside and out. Again, I'm not too worried. We all know this is going to be a high poly model, so I'm not too worried how high poly we get. Now you can see that all of these edge loops are now supported. Okay, this is also called fencing. I'm sure you've heard of that before. So now if I right click over this, go to select, and hit the Q key, go into object mode and hit the 3 key. Now you can see that it looks good. I'm going to get rid of that. There we go, so you can kind of see what's happening here. Okay, so we get that nice edge. Okay, looks good. Alright, so Control Z back and hit the 1 key. Alright, so this looks pretty good. Whenever you have edge loops that are very close together, there's a tendency, whoops, this one's not working. There's a tendency of creating what's called a crease. A crease is not good. To get rid of a crease, or if you see a crease, you can soften it by moving these vertices away from, usually it's this one right here. Moving them away from each other as far as they can. Now you have to be careful, but unfortunately you can't move the vertices away from the edge it's trying to support, otherwise it just becomes a problem. So that's how you can soften creases. And creases are unfortunately part of the game when you're doing hard surface modeling. So let's go in here and go to select. I got one more edge loop I forgot, and this one right here. There we go. So now you can see that now it's complete. Alright, so I have to go and do the rest of them. We're at about 30 minutes, so I'll go ahead and turn on edge so you can see our edges, excuse me. And we'll do the other two, and then we'll go ahead and extrude and see how everything looks, and then I can show you how to finish this all up. Alright, in the next video, part 5.